I'll call the meeting to order at, nope. I'll call the meeting to order at 1:01 PM. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda as circulated. I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the agenda for the 2022 draft budget session of Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 be approved as circulated. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Hogg, second, Counselor Phillip, all in favor? Carried. Item 5 is 2022 draft budget with amendments.
Mayor Latchford,
Yes,
I just wanted to note that if there's any discussion on donations and commitment in regard to the Northumberland Hospice Care Center, I'll declare a conflict of interest because it is my place of employment.
okay, thank you. You want the motion first, Pat, or? Be it resolved that the 2022 draft budget be accepted as presented and be placed on the January 12th, 2022 budget session agenda for public question period. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Hogg and Counselor Phillip. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item 6, public question period instructions. And these are for January the 12th, 2022. On January 12th, 2022, the public will be given the opportunity to address council, the CAO, and the treasurer with questions on the draft 2022 draft budget via the Zoom conference. Each public speaker will be given 5 minutes to ask questions. When your time expires, your line will be placed on mute. Submission of the questions shall be received in writing and addressed to the acting clerk, Pat Kemp, by December 24th, 2021, in order that there is time to answer and that these questions be placed on the agenda. If submitting by email, please contact Pat Kemp at pkemp@ahtwp.ca or by email or by mail at 10836 County Road 2, PO Box 70, Grafton, KOK 2GO. Only questions specific to the 2022 draft budget will be addressed. You may receive a response during the meeting. However, council and/or staff may follow up with a response at a later date to provide more detailed information. Thank you. I thought I'd read that first in case when people are listening, they can know once we go over this draft budget if they have more questions. Are you going to take us through these budget amendments, Carol?
Yep, I can. So at the last budget meeting, council asked that we do a little bit more trimming. We wanted to reduce the percentage increase to 4%. With the items that were changed in the budget, we are down to a 3.9% increase. So in the administration budget, we increased the HR services from the county from 10,000 to 15,000. We're going to need probably more help from them over the next year. We reduced the amount for the crossing guard from 30,000 to 10,000 after we received some more information. In the fire department, reduced the fire prevention and public education materials from 10,000 to 5,000. And we had to increase OMERS to add the fire chief from 6,200 to 17,500. The previous chief was not on OMERS, so we had to increase that. In the building and bylaw, we removed a full-time building inspector bylaw officer and added $30,000 to hire a contract position or a company to help with the bylaw information or bylaw stuff for next year. We got an announcement on December 8th that we would be receiving $625,513 from OCIF and not the original $335,356. So I added it into reserves in the roads budget, and it can go towards the new build or another eligible project in the roads department. So now the budget's within the parameters, 3.9% or $21.33 per 100,000 of assessment. So then, and then I just talked about the budget with the public consultation, so with questions. So those are the changes we made to get it down to a 3.9% increase as per council's direction on at the last meeting.
Thank you. Well done. It was nice to see the OSIF funding go up for our township by 290,000, and the county benefited and the other municipalities did as well. So, and it's to stay there. It's not to be reduced. So they've committed to the long haul right now for that amount. So we should get the same the next few years, unless there's more increases. Okay, any questions from council? You'll have to call out to me, Sherry, if you have a question. You're behind me.
I will do.
No questions from council? Any questions from staff? No?
You talking about the whole thing or just that, what she just read?
No, well, on this that she's just read.
Okay, yeah, no
First.
questions.
No questions by anybody? Okay. So now do you have questions on the budget pieces? Anyone? Councillor Booth.
Just through you, your worship, to Carol. Carol, in the donations and commitment list, the Grafton Horticultural Society, Grafton Green Thumbs, did you reach out to them? Did they get back to us? They're not willing to fill out the form, or because it shows as 0, so.
Pat reached out to them.
Yeah, the day of our budget meeting, I sent them an email. I have not heard back from them on that.
Okay, so I guess we consider that closed then, that it's 0. Okay, good, thank you. Another question, since I have the mic anyway, was through you, your worship, to Carol. Carol, I talked about at the budget about subscriptions and memberships.
Mhm.
And I was reviewing it last night and kind of surprised to see that it actually went up $200.
For which
Well, there's 11 departments that have subscriptions and memberships, and Public Works went up $500
and
the-
that's because we're adding staff.
for subscriptions and memberships. Yep. Arena went up $250. The library went up 50, which I know is not us, and the building went down 600. So I'm just not sure whether there's been research done to look at, is there any cost savings at all? We're spending $32,000 on subscriptions and memberships. And I think we agreed that staff, or Troy, you would look into if are we duplicating anything? Is there some departments that are getting the same subscriptions, or could we get a membership, a corporate membership? I know like Orpha for the arena, they offer a corporate membership that you can have as many staff on it as you want. It's still the same. So
I'll speak if you don't mind, Mayor. Yes, I did look into it, and through Public Works, we have, there are a number of associations, and when the renewal does come out, we will look at a corporate, see if there is corporate, but we wanted to keep that number in there just in case there is no corporate. So these are our associations that need to be done, that we do training through and stuff. So, but we still are looking at a possible reduction if there is corporate.
We do have quite a few corporate memberships like AMO and MFOA. So those things are corporate and everybody is included in them.
okay. Another question I asked was back in budget was about cell phones, and was just asking, do we know how many cell phones we have? And we sort of agreed that the average price of a cell phone plan was around $700. Do we know?
Yeah, we, like, for example, Public Works, in their cell phone account line, there's 4 cell phones, but we're also looking at possible iPads for staff too, a couple iPads. Just because it's going to happen in a few years that all their stuff has to be documented on digital instead of paper trail. So we're looking at iPads too that will go in that account line as well. So some iPads, but yes, we have a number of all the cell phones and, Public Works for parks. There's a couple. So I've looked at the account line, looked at the staffing and what their requests are, and they're on par for what they're asking. So.
Okay, thank you. Another one, and maybe this can go through to Brian, is the safety boots and uniforms for the arena. The original budget that was presented to us back in, was it October we did or November? It showed safety boots and stuff like that for arena and parks. And I looked at both of them and it's now totaled over $5,300 for boots and safety stuff for arena and parks. And let me just dig it up. The arena boots and clothing allowance, we had budgeted $1,800 and we were over $2,080 now. When we did the first budget back in October, it was only at $229. So we spent like $1,800 in the last month or so. And then the other one was the boot and clothing allowance for the parks. We had budgeted $1,100 and we've now spent $3,282. So we're $2,100 over on the parks. And the parks one I don't understand because due to COVID, park staff wouldn't have changed. It was the same amount of staff, was it not, that cut the grass in the last few years for parks?
Yes, through you, Mayor Latchford. Yes, Councillor Booth. Yeah, we did do a GL entry there. There was a bill that came in from a clothing company, but the accounts that we actually allocated the money had to be adjusted, and they have been, I think as of today, they've been changed, or maybe by tomorrow. But a lot of the extra clothing was bought was COVID related, and a lot of it was for our attendants at our facilities, like at all the community centers for checking the vaccination codes. So right now, basically the Parks and Rec clothing budget and the arena clothing allowance budget are pretty much close to what their budget number was. And the rest of the money that was over, that you're seeing over, will be coming out of the COVID funding. Would that be correct to say that, Carol?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And since you're there, Brian, another
Yep.
question for you was, under the parks, it talks about the Newawton grounds maintenance, that there's $3,000 for them, but they haven't spent anything. And I know Councillor Mike would be not pleased if he sees that that money isn't spent every year on Newawton. Is there bills coming in, or is that being forwarded to next year to add it to the other 3 because they're doing another project, or what?
Yes, that is correct, Councillor Booth. There hasn't been any money spent. There is $3,000 in the Newawton budget line. I'm not saying there could be a possible invoice coming before the end of the year, but there is work that needs to be done there. I'm actually meeting one of the residents that's familiar with the parkland pretty good down there. I'm meeting him tomorrow morning to do a walkthrough, and he's already sent some pictures to myself and Councillor Phillip about that. So I'm meeting him tomorrow to do a walkthrough in the morning, and whatever money's not spent in the 2021 budget, I'll be looking to council to move that forward to into reserve or for next year, so that more work can be done.
Okay, thank you. And the last question,
Yep.
not a question, but through you, your worship, to Carol. Carol, maybe you can explain, because I see on social media there was an issue brought up about COLA and discussion on it and everything. So could we get just clarity so that we know the COLA for the staff. How is it that they calculate the COLA? Because, and I'll use the example that I have is OMERS, the Ontario Municipal Employees, sent out an email to retirees saying that the cost of living this year is 2.7% increase. So why is it, how is ours different? Is ours going by a different CPI or?
It's going by a different month, probably. It depends on what month you go by. In our pay administration policy, it says township shall include cost of living adjustments effective January 1st of each year, and it shall be calculated using CPI for the annual increase, the CPI yearly inflation rate from October in the current year to be used in place for the effective date in the next year. So this is October's COLA, 4.9%.
Okay, good. That's all I
Yeah.
want to, so it's just clear it up so that everybody knows. Okay, so I'm not sure what other groups are using. Maybe they use a different month or maybe.
Some can use different months. Most municipalities I've been at have used October's COLA. As far as what OMERS uses, I don't know, because I think they were at 2.7 or something.
2.74, I think, but
2.74, but I'm not sure what they would have used. Now, they could use the Canada-wide one too. This is Ontario.
yeah, I don't think they'd use Canada because OMERS is Ontario Municipal Employees. So they probably use Ontario, but they might use a different month, right? If they would have used July or June, maybe it was a
But
little.
the only thing is there's nothing that's 2.74 from January to October. So I don't know what they use. Maybe they don't use the CPI, maybe they do a calculation.
Yeah.
But
Okay, no, that explains it perfect. It's all written down so that
Yeah.
there's no issues around that it's all straightforward. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, just to give you some information, the county did it this morning. Their rate for December, 4.7.
So then
So it's
they
staying up
probably
and
use October too then, do they?
It's expected that it'll, I think they use December.
Oh, do they? Okay. Well, like the treasurer said,
It's so,
all of them are high, so
Mhm.
and they're
really,
expecting it to stay high for the first few months in January.
nope, thank you for everybody for clarifying or answering the questions. That's it for me.
Okay. So any further questions or added to Counselor Booth? Okay, so what I'm expecting with the Grafton Horticulture, if they haven't responded, that still maybe they aren't aware or somebody's not home or whatever, that they will be back. And we have what, $1,000 in contingency.
we put the $1,000 in contingency and 350 of that was for Grafton Thumbs if they were willing to sign.
If they sign.
Yep.
Yeah, because I can't, okay,
Through the mayor.
yes,
Through the mayor, I just might add to that, that one of the members of that group has had some hip replacement surgery. Both hips, as I understand it. So it may be that she's just not bounced back yet.
okay, okay. Good to know. So any other questions, council, on the changes? No? Okay, I'm good with that.
Oh, one more.
One more.
Sorry, I forgot. Through your worship to Brian. Brian,
run out of
the
space.
line painting for $50,000. So could you clarify that for me? We had $20,000 in the budget. We only spent 1,200 this year, but we're asking for 50. Is that 50 going to do all the roads next year? And if it does that mean the 2023 budget will be lower than 50 or staying at the same?
Yes, through you, Mayor Latchford. Yes, Counselor Booth. There was 20,000 in the 2021 budget. There was only the number you said, like 12 or 1,500 spent in 2021, and that actually wasn't for line painting. It was actually, well, for stop locks down and around your Grafton and Centerton areas and stuff like that for white stop locks from a small contractor. So no line painting got done in the 2021 season. That's the yellow line painting down the center of the road that I think all council believes is a, a good thing for the township to, keep moving forward doing. And so the $20,000 would be needed for next year, but as well, I added 30,000. That would basically do all of the hard top roads in the township then with line painting. So all your hard top roads would have center line. And then moving forward, in most cases, you'd be line painting that road again the following year. You basically got to recoat those yellow lines every year. So moving forward, it would be like a close to $50,000 budget line if we want to continue to line paint all our hard top roads.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Mayor?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Yeah, so just going back to donations and commitment list, I know we had decided that there was a procedure to follow for organizations who wanted to request money through our budget. And in particular, the Roseneath Agricultural Society and Fairground Board didn't get their application in on time. However, I'm anticipating that they may come back to the table outside of donations and commitments and ask for our support at fair time or for other events. So I'm proposing that we increase our contingency by $1,000 to $2,000 to offset any requests we may get, it specifically from the Fair Board.
Okay, are you making that a motion?
I will make that a motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gibson to increase the donations list, the contingency line from 1,000 to 2,000 in anticipation that Roseneath Agricultural Society may request $1,000 further in the year. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Seconded by Councillor Hogg. Any comments, questions? Councillor Booth?
Through you, your worship, to the treasurer, do we not have in council an expenditure budget for requests like that that's through the year?
It's only the contingency.
That's it? There was no special events?
No, special events was removed.
I'm just trying to look through.
I
That's where
believe
we've taken it out of
that-
other years.
We have special events, $4,000.
No, okay, so it was reduced. That is usually part of the staff appreciation, not volunteer appreciation, but staff appreciation.
I think
Volunteers.
if I may interject too, I believe in that line, Carol, that was Canada Day celebrations. Or did we put that into recreation and culture?
We moved that over to rec and culture.
Okay,
But that's where it was, Sherry, the
Right.
Canada Day and the Christmas parades.
right.
Councillor Phil.
Yes, through the mayor. My comment on that contingency fund is I would support it minus the earmark for Roseneath Agricultural Fair. They can apply for it. They may get it, but I don't think it should be earmarked for them particularly because I think that's finding your way around the problem that they didn't apply in a timely manner. So if they apply, the money's there. If they, but I don't think it should be. They should be named in the motion.
Mayor, my intention was not to name them within the motion. My intention was to increase that contingency fund. The reasoning behind it was that in the event they came forward, because I think probably since time immemorial and certainly since I've been around on an annual basis, we have supported them. So I anticipate they may need it, but I certainly concur with Counselor Phillips' comments.
Okay, so you're okay with changing your motion or correcting the motion to be just increasing the contingency to 2,000 by $1,000?
Yes.
Okay. As the seconder, Counselor Hogg, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Right, okay, so we've got that motion on the floor. Call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Anything else? I just have one thing in respect to our facilities and the arena. Are we still hiring security to check people at arena for tournaments, et cetera?
I'll let Jen Steen answer that.
I know we've been using staff to do that. So facility attendants have been doing the check-ins at all of the facilities, including the arena.
Okay, because I've been to outside to a few organizations and their events. And I was at the Keeler Center to a hockey tournament, and it was volunteers who were doing the COVID checks. And I was at a craft sale in Port Hope, and I'm not sure if they were volunteers or were they the people who rented the hall had to have the COVID checkers. So I think it's going to add up to a lot of money if we're paying staff to do this continuously. People are well aware, and especially now that they have to present their vaccine papers. So I'm just wondering if we can change that, because that's going to end up being, as I said, lots of money. And if we've got somebody renting the hall for an event and we're paying our staff 4, 5, 6 hours to sit there, we're not making much money on the rent.
If I could just add to that, is we don't have staff, for example, at the community centers when they're doing the check-ins. They come for a portion, the start of the event. They don't stay for the entire event. So they come in, do the check, and then they leave. So they're not there. If it's like a 6-hour event, they'd only be there for, maybe 1 hour at the start to open things up. Make sure the space is ready and do the check-in.
But how can they do that if it's an event like a craft sale and people are coming and going through 4 or 5 hours? It's new people.
For those types of events, you're correct. Like the craft shows, we do have to have staff on site if it's a come and go event.
Yeah. But I think it could be the responsibility of assigning or telling the ones that are renting, they have to have 1 or 2 people there to do that. And the other thing is we have Recreation and Cultural Committee, and they were to be volunteers throughout the township. So I'm wondering if they could be asked if they would like to volunteer if there's a function in their community to do that as well. They were to move the idea of not having the community center committees and going to an overall committee was that they would move around and volunteer when needed or if they were available. Could you bring that up at your Recreation and Culture meeting?
Yeah, I can bring it up at the meeting. Our current policy is that we do have staff doing all COVID check-ins for liability reasons, but that's definitely something that can be looked at.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is that the policy be relooked at, Troy. When we're getting into the costs of this and the rentals, and if somebody's coming in and using the facility and there's no charges for whatever it is, then it's costing us a lot of money, or costing the residents a lot of money. And
Yep.
I know it's COVID times, but
Yeah,
we could be
and-
back again to being shut right down, hopefully
Yeah, and
not.
it's about to get worse. So it's something that I will speak with Jen and Brian about and the committee. But yeah, like I said, it's the world is about to get a lot worse and we're all going to be closing down, unfortunately, and it's going to be 100% Zoom meetings. And so coming into the new year.
That's what I'm expecting as well. But I think a review of it and how much has been spent might be worthwhile knowing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
That any of those staff members can come from the COVID funding.
That's,
Yeah,
So,
but still it's money we're losing.
yes, but it can come from the COVID funding, so it's not costing the residents because that COVID funding was for such things as this.
Yeah. As long as, but we don't know how long COVID's going on, whether we're getting more. So we're in just in a place, I think, of being unbalanced a little bit with that. It's just a suggestion. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor?
Yes? Jerry?
I don't know, I was kind of fighting with Brian there to put my hand up, so I don't know if Brian would like to speak. I'll give you a chance to go first if you don't mind, Mayor, because I think he was there before me.
You have to yell at me, Brian. I can't see you.
sorry, Mayor Latchford. Yeah, I was just gonna, out of the same comments that Jennifer Steen had said, I think Jennifer hit it on the head there with having her own staff. You know, as far as an important thing like checking the barcodes and the vaccinations is important. And I was going to mention the same comment that the treasurer just mentioned that I know it, and you mentioned it, but it is coming from the COVID funding. It wasn't coming from the taxation, or there wasn't a budget allocation for attendance for these facilities. So we were going to draw the money from the COVID funding to pay for these staff to be at these community centers for checking of the vaccination, as well as like back to Councilor Booth's questions about going over on the clothing. That's where a lot of that extra clothing was bought for our attendants to be wearing Almec Haldeman logo t-shirts when they're working these facilities. So I just want to comment on those same things.
Thank you. Just seems to me like it's a huge expense. Anyways,
Mayor?
go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, thank you. And I think it's a little premature to move away from that model right now. And I agree with CAO Gilmore. I'm positive that things are going to be getting worse, but I have a bit of a, not a bit of a worry. I have a large worry actually, having volunteers take that role on. You know, with this new variant we're dealing with, it's highly transmissible. And I think, you know, we'd be better off to pay our staff to go in who've been properly trained and are, you know, insured with us and covered with liability than to ask volunteers to take that role on right now. There may be a spot for it in the months to come, but I'm for one not comfortable sending that back to recreation and culture for discussion.
That's fine. I just want council to keep it in mind, the cost of this. So. And I had this written before the last few days of what's been released, so we need to stay aware. Thank you. One more question for you, Brian. Just for me, if you could get me the price of a black cat, what they are today, please, when you have time.
Will do, Mayor.
Thanks. Okay, anything else on the budget? Council? Are we still at where we were?
We're at 3.92,
We're at
$21 and, yeah,
Okay, now we're at
$21.42.
3.92.
Yeah.
What do I get? We have to I'm going to call for the vote on this first motion. And Greg, you have another question?
Just a question through you, your worship, the procedure. So we vote on this today. We're asking for public comments in January. So we're not really passing the budget until we've listened to the comments.
This is just part of the draft budget and the changes.
Okay.
Correct, Carol?
The final budget will be coming January 12th
Yeah.
with the PowerPoint presentation
So is that, when are we getting the comments from the
by
public?
the 24th of December
No, I know, but when does that get presented to council?
at the 12th of January.
So anybody
So-
from the public who wishes to speak to the budget can do so on January 12th.
Well, they-
Okay, so I guess the issue I have is if you're a member of the public and you submit a bunch of questions or concerns or recommendations to council that may be something we missed, we're going to be presenting the final budget after we listen to their questions or whatever. So we're basically rubber stamping this, and doesn't matter what the public tells us on the 12th then.
Well, you could still make changes on the 12th. Right? Because you're not at the,
Well, Carol
Wait,
just said
just a-
they're presenting the final, we're
Yeah.
doing the PowerPoint thing and everything. So to me, it just seems we're really not paying attention to the public. It's just we're going through the motions to say, give us your questions, but guess what? The
So-
PowerPoint thing that's,
Are we asking for questions or are we asking for input?
well, I
Because
think
questions and
questions or
input are different.
input. I mean, if the public wants to ask a question, or maybe somebody in the public suggests something that we didn't see, then I would like to think that at least we're open to possibly changing it, right? It just seems to me it's carved in stone that we could have 20 people ask questions, we could have nobody ask questions, but then we're gonna do a PowerPoint presentation right afterwards that shows that it's pretty well carved in stone.
or you could have well, the 12th is a Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Right, Wednesday.
Yeah, but I don't have to be here.
So, no, I'm thinking if we had that on the Wednesday, the final budget could be the next day, the
Yeah,
13th
that's-
at our regular meeting.
Just like Councillor Mike just said, there has to be a little bit of window there that we could think about what they talked about, or if there was any cost saving things or anything like that that could be changed at the last minute, instead of 10 minutes later, we're presenting the budget and it's like, I just think the public will feel that they're getting ripped off, that, they could have made a good presentation and it's like, well, it's too late. We've already got the PowerPoint thing done and this is the way it is.
I would think that staff would be doing that anyway.
Yes.
Staff would be finding savings, staff would be finding. I'm just not, I think if you want public input, what you need to do is have a public input prior to the budget even being presented. You need to start it off with public input to the budget. Then you present the budget. Then you go forward with it instead of I think this is backwards, the way that we're suggesting doing it. If they have questions for the budget, absolutely, we can answer any questions. But if you want public input, you need to start that prior to the budget, not after the budget's already been presented twice.
Okay, we agree to disagree, but I think that if somebody is willing to go to council and present questions and some input, it's not just, to me, it's not just a question from the public to say, why did you spend this or why this? It's a possibility that they might say, here's a suggestion or whatever. All I'm asking is that, like you said, Mayor, is if we do that on the 12th, that's fine. If there's no issues, then whenever the next meeting is, then if it's 2 weeks later, then we do the final budget. Approval, yeah. And it's possible, probably more than likely, there's going to be no changes at all, but I just think it shows the public that we're willing to listen to their questions or whatever. And I see what you're saying, Carol. We should have probably done like a lot of other municipalities do, which is they put it online and they ask for input and everything, and but we didn't do that. So
Very few small municipalities do that. The larger ones do that.
Hamilton did it this year.
First time.
Yeah. And only ones that could make, I went to try and go on there to look at theirs. Not that I'm nosy, but you got to live there to be able to do it. You have to put your address in, so you can't, it has to be a resident to do it. But so maybe we can look at that next time, or the next council can, but at least this time, the public can have some comments and concerns or whatever, and more than likely, like I said, it'll pass, but it'll just pass 2 weeks later.
So we have a council meeting the 13th of January, and then is the 20th our meeting, or is that planning?
Strategic planning,
That's strategic planning.
yes.
And then the next
following
Thursday is planning.
is planning, yes.
Okay,
But we'll do the final presentation for budget, and council has that power to accept it or not accept it. If you don't approve the budget, you know what, then it's obviously delayed or whatever, and then we go to the next council meeting, whenever that is. And, you know, if there's significant changes that need to be done, that with council's recommendations, we do that, and then we bring it to the next council meeting and get that budget approved. So let's just carry on and we will present the budget. We'll get those questions. And again, if there's significant changes, we will, and council agrees, well, we have to do that. So, but we'll see how the 12th goes.
good with that? Okay. Do I need to adjust this motion then, Pat, to say anything other than what it does? 5.1?
It's just saying you're gonna bring forward the draft budget that we discussed
Yeah,
to the meeting on the 12th.
for a public question period. Okay, so it's fine the way it is. Okay, so Jim made the motion and Mike seconded it. All in favor? Carried. Then we'll go from there. Okay, we're to item 7, confirming approval of the confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw number 150-2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the 2022 draft budget session held on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021, be read and deemed to be passed this 15th day of December, 2021. Have a mover? Councillor Booth and Deputy Mayor Gibson. All in favor? Carried. Adjournment, motion to adjourn. Be it resolved that the 2022 draft budget session of Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 be adjourned at 1:40
So moved.
PM. Moved by Sherry, second. Councillor Phil, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Now I'll remember, Brian, that I asked you about the black cat.
I'd like to say that, congratulations to staff all the way from the top 2 down,
Uh-huh.
because that was the smoothest budget I've ever done. No, recording stopped, you said.
Are you available? Yeah, we'll stop recording. I have to go to the line and stop.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're just getting good at it.
Yeah, and we'll get some questions.